Tarot is a divinatory system that has been used to tell the future for hundreds of years. But what is it about the tarot that inspires such intriguing and mysterious images in our minds? Is it the strange art, the elusive history, or the taboo nature of the cards that draws us in? Let's take a journey into this world of cartomancy to understand how it came to be known as the tarot. The exact origin of using cards for divination and fortune-telling is unknown. There are some theories that it originated in the East, as playing cards came from 618 AD are recorded in China. Egypt is another theory, as trade circulated through Islamic societies. In the 1370s, the Mamluk created a playing card system containing 4 suits. Could this be the first form of tarot as we know it? In the 1400s, during the Italian Renaissance, we have the first accredited account of tarot, in the form that it is recognized today. It was developed from tarocchi, or tarocchi, a playing card game enjoyed by the wealthy at the time. An aristocratic family, the Visconti, commissioned a hand-painted deck that added 22 cards, the major arcana, to the existing tarocchi deck. Mediterranean and Roma people have also been thought to use playing cards as a form of divination, but it is unclear for how long. It is not until the 1700s that the mystical qualities are associated with tarot. Tarot was being used by French and English occultists for divination. In 1909, Arthur Edward Waite commissioned Pamela Smith to paint the Rider-Waite Tarot. A. E. Waite was a member of the secret occult society, the Golden Dawn. But the mysteries of the tarot were closely guarded, even with the availability and popularity of the deck. Later in the 20th century, a more psychological approach was taken, as scholars such as Carl Jung viewed tarot through the lens of the mind rather than through magic. So where does that leave us today? Does tarot work? How should tarot be used? Let us discuss these topics. Hello and welcome back to Tarot and Torch. My name is Amber if you are new here, and if you are returning, welcome back. Today's topic is about tarot, and as a professional tarot reader, I wanted to discuss tarot in terms of its history, but also its use today and how tarot as a system works and why it works. Firstly, let me begin by saying that even though I am a professional reader and have read for very many years at this point, I am no expert, and my opinion is not the only one. Tarot is a very personal system when it comes to fortune-telling, reading for spirituality purposes, or reading for fun. Let's first take a look at the different ways that tarot is understood to work. The first way is more of a magical thought process, where the cards themselves come to life to speak to the person that is reading them in a very mystical way. In this thought process, in this in this theory, the cards come forward to tell their story. And tarot being an archetypal, mystical system all on its own, full of mystical symbols, numerology, occult images, this makes sense as to why people would gravitate towards this particular theory. The tarot is meant to be a magical system. It is imbued with the symbolism for a reason. If that was not the case, that tarot wasn't meant to be magical and mystical in some way, its creators would not depict such archetypes that instill the sense of wonder and magic within us. But there are some parts of this that can be problematic for modern day tarot readers and tarot consumers. Because when we give power to something else completely and say that it's only the cards that creates this magic and that the person reading it isn't doing anything, or the person getting the reading is also not a part of this magic, it makes one very reliant only on the cards themselves, and also creates a sense of fear or separation from yourself and the magic that is happening. So many people start to come up with these tales of portals being opened up and demons coming through and things that can be problematic. So, of course, as with any of these theories, we need to take a look at the theory and ask ourselves deeper questions about it. And so, though there may be something that is mystical about the tarot due to the imagery, due to the numerology and the creators and the way of its creation, putting so much power onto the cards themselves makes the cards something to fear, or something that can be mistaken to fix all of our problems without us doing any of the hard work. Another theory is more on the logical and psychological side of things. Carl Jung, psychologist, was known to see the cards in a more archetypal way, and how that is mirrored in our psyche. So looking at the cards brings to mind different parts of ourselves and how we think through situations that happen in our lives through these archetypes. And this is a very popular modality. This is how many current tarot readers see their work through the tarot, as using the archetypes to help their clients to navigate different parts of their lives. And since tarot often brings things from the subconscious into the conscious, a separate person other than the person reading the cards is preferred, so that they can see themselves in a different lens, a different perspective. And that helps to take one out of their projection or shadow if there is currently that energy happening. If someone is projecting their thoughts, feelings, perspectives onto others, this kind of work is very helpful to take that different approach and see things on a different psychological layer than they would catch otherwise, because it is very hard for a person to see their own projections if they're not looking for them. So in that sense, the archetypal approach is very useful for everyone, and something that can be very powerful to work with. Also, it can help to sharpen and deepen your sense of intuition by using tarot in a psychological sense. It creates a form of pattern recognition that helps us to, over time, be able to recognize these subconscious drives and patterns within us. This comes to my own perspective of what the tarot is and how it works. After reading the cards for 30 years, what I feel to be true, what has resonated most with me, is that over time, things develop an energy. And that's anything that we can associate with energy, whether it's things like churches that people go to and they pray and create that atmosphere, that aura of that kind of energy, or whether it's even something like holidays that we celebrate that create that magic around them, like any kind of holiday that we associate with, that we enjoy. And also things like ghosts. Over time of believing certain things, a certain energy is created. And I feel that tarot cards, while they are made of paper and are painted, images that are very much three-dimensional, there is an energy inherently in them. And this is because I tend to gravitate more towards animistic, thinking that things, objects can carry energy. And I just find this to be very true, especially with spiritual tools that we are using every day and putting a certain level of energy into and then using for very spiritual purposes. And I also feel the same way about crystals and other spiritual tools. And everyone has their own opinions, viewpoints, beliefs on these subjects and these matters, and none of these techniques are wrong or right. It is really about the heart of the person coming into a reading that determines how this is working. And for me, it is more about the energy that builds up around the idea of tarot, the work with tarot, the intention of the reader, and the intention of the person receiving the reading. And when all of these things are coming together for the purpose of bettering a person in a reading, that's where the healing comes through, that's where the messages come through. And as someone who is very intuitive naturally for working in this type of field and dealing with energy on a daily basis through Reiki, through crystal work, through astrology and other things, I feel that there are messages that come through that are being activated, as tarot is a mirror to our soul. Tarot mirrors what we have within us and what we need to hear, because it is showing us in a very clear way the things that are deeply buried within our psyche that need to be brought forth and through. And a skilled reader can pick up on these things. And I don't feel that every single reader is meant for this line of work. I feel that there are readers that dedicate themselves to the craft of tarot, that learn the tarot thoroughly, and then use their intuition to bring those messages through in a very complementary way with the learned knowledge. Because the deeper that you go with tarot, the more your intuition is strengthened. So that comes down to what I believe in terms of tarot practices. When I first started, tarot was very mystical, and many people thought that it was the cards themselves that did the work, that any card that you picked would speak to you and give you the messages. And there were many rules around the tarot, such as you're not allowed to buy the cards yourself, you must be gifted the cards, you must sleep with the cards under your pillow to bond with them, that they had to be constantly wrapped in a cloth, and all of these different rules that were associated with cards. Also that you could only have one deck, and that you shouldn't have more than one deck, because your one single deck was the only one that would speak with you. If you had more, that would weaken your intuitive abilities. So there was all this kind of interesting rule sets around tarot when I first began. And that was in the 90s when I first began reading tarot. So As time went on, people started to change their opinions, their beliefs about tarot and how it worked. It became less mystical and more about the mind. And both methods really are useful, and both of them work. So I'm not saying that there's any one way that's right or any one way that's wrong. Both of these ways work. And when it comes down to a reading, there are some readers that are very intuitive that only go by their intuition and they don't know the meanings of the cards. And then there's readers that only know the meanings of the cards. And then there's a set in the middle that do both. And with this, I do feel that the more you practice tarot, the meanings not only become more clear, but also your intuition deepens very strongly and connects more to the archetypes, more to your own understanding of energy, and then you more easily pick up on the energy of others to help them through their situation and to hear what they really need in terms of their messages. So this all happens with time, patience, and deepening your practice in a spiritual way, connecting to the cards, in my opinion. But I have heard that there are many readers that are only intuitive and they deliver beautiful messages. So it really just depends on the querent and the person getting the reading, their beliefs on this and the type of reader that they want to read for them. But when it comes to the cards and how to take care of them and what the cards need from you, I view the cards as a spiritual tool. And the deck, in my opinion, does matter. The symbols in the deck that you use to read for someone matter because you need to be able to decipher those deeper meanings, those deeper messages. And each deck has its own language. And that comes back to my very animistic way of looking at tarot. But each deck has its own way of speaking, delivering these messages, showing you what you need to know. And it's not just about the aesthetics for me at least. It's about the deeper meaning. And it doesn't always mean that it has to be esoteric, because there are some decks that I have. My very first deck was a dragon deck, and that deck spoke to me on a very archetypal level. And then, of course, the Rider-Waite deck was my second one, and that one still speaks to me very strongly, and this is the one that I prefer to use for most clients. So looking at the type of deck depends on how you work with it. I don't sleep with my decks. I have done that when I first started, and I found that didn't change very much for me personally, but being someone that does believe in energy, I do sit with my deck a lot. I use the decks a lot. Sometimes I will just hold them and look at them. So there's different ways of bonding with your cards other than just sleeping with them. Putting crystals on top of decks. I still do this. I do this from time to time. It's not something I have to do. I just prefer to do it because I work with crystals and I know certain crystals can cleanse decks more easily or strengthen the abilities, the energy in a certain deck, or just shift the energy of a deck if I need to. And I do feel that decks have personalities. That each deck has its own way of viewing the world and communicating that to a client. And so if I feel that a client has a certain personality and a certain deck that I have also has that personality, or what they need in terms of a personality to deliver the message, that's what I'll choose for them. I do cleanse my cards every now and then. I don't cleanse them every day. I use incense sometimes. Other times I'll use crystals. Sometimes I'll use Reiki. It just depends on how I'm feeling about a deck's energy and how it's working. If a deck is flowing and it doesn't feel very laden with energy, I'll use it continuously until I feel that shift happening and a need for the cleansing to happen. Whereas when I first started, people said that you must cleanse your deck each time. And certainly if that works for people that want to do that, that's up to each practitioner of what they do. I go more through feeling and what I'm feeling needs to happen to the deck. I always shuffle my deck in between readings multiple times, and usually this is enough to shift that energy that is collected in the deck during a reading for me. I wouldn't use water or soap or any kind of chemicals. Even with sprays, I'm very cautious, or oils. I don't like getting my cards wet with any kind of liquids, as I have found in the past they turn sticky, matted, or just the texture changes in a way that I don't enjoy. But I know some people do that to their cards, and they feel that it's something that they want to continue doing. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. Please let me know, what are your thoughts on tarot? How do you view tarot? Does it work in an energetic way or a more logical way? What is your practice with tarot and belief system around the tarot? I hope that this video has inspired you, allowed you to think differently about some part of the way that tarot works or its history. Please let me know if you've enjoyed it, and don't forget to click the like button and to subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next episode very soon.